Alright, so does anyone else think that it would have been kind of cool if House had been voiced by, well, House? No? Just me? Come on. Seriously? House voicing House. That would have been fine, whatever, just roll the beginning. Hello everyone, I'm Papa Kenn, and welcome to episode 61 of Discovering Doctor Who. Today the episode I'm going to be talking about is The Doctor's Wife, and wow was I way off in my guess about what this episode might be about. Very happy with how it turned out though, very happy. Now as you all might know, this is take 2 of this whole thing, but I feel like I can actually put everything forward a little bit better this time, except I'm sorry I wasn't able to get the reaction footage, which I actually did have some pretty good reactions to this episode. But hopefully I can portray that through my enthusiasm for the positives of this episode. So actually, let's go ahead and get into those, starting with number 1, the communication cubes. Now, some of you informed me about one of you linked me to a video from it's a clip from one of the classic Doctor Who episodes, and it shows basically the creation of one of these communication cubes. And I didn't feel like, after I watched it, I didn't feel like that was entirely necessary. It kind of pointed out to me, I guess, the origin of these communication cubes, but I honestly think I could have seen the episode without knowing that, and still basically gotten the gist. It's like, oh, okay, well, this is what Time Lords use to communicate when they're in distress or they need to send a message somewhere. But overall, I thought it was a really interesting idea, very cool concept, and oh my god, when the Doctor finds all of those cubes in that closet or whatever it was, that was just amazing. That was just so well done. Honestly, I expected it to happen, so that took away from it a little bit because I was just waiting and waiting on, the Doctor to find these cubes, especially after what Idris, the Tardis, said to him earlier. Which actually brings me to my second favorite part of this episode, Idris. No, yes. Idris, aka the Tardis. Just a wonderful, wonderful character. Absolutely loved her. She was so much fun. Very, very interesting, especially at first. With the whole, what was that one line? Biting is fun. It's like kissing, but there's a winner. Jill didn't watch this episode with me, but I'm going to have to have her watch that episode with me so that she can see that scene, and then when it happens, I'll bite her, and then I'll let you all know whether or not she punched me in the face, which I'm assuming she probably will. But yeah, just the relationship of Idris as the TARDIS with the Doctor, them being able to communicate. Just her throughout this entire episode, brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. I thought it was a wonderful concept. Her being, and obviously, the title of the episode, it's an implied title. Like, she's not actually the Doctor's wife, but the relationship that they have, even when it's just the Doctor, inside of his ship, the TARDIS. I mean, they have that bond that man and wife should have, or, well, not just man and wife, but you know what I'm saying, basically. It's like, that's the relationship of a marriage in and of itself. That's the best way to put it, I think. Just the relationship of a true, really good marriage. And that's what I got from her the entire time, especially once the Doctor kind of came to terms with, she's the TARDIS. But moving on, my third favorite part of this episode, the Doctor's rage. In 2 separate parts. One, when he found the communication cubes, and that was just a very short moment, like, especially when he's talking to Uncle and Auntie. Matt Smith does such a good job of portraying that rage, that Doctor's rage. It's like the rage of a 900-year-old entity. Is like, and I mean, in my opinion, he does it just as good, if not better, than both of the previous Doctors that I've seen. I honestly think that they're all very good at portraying that rage, that anger. But it was very well done. Matt Smith did a very good job. Oh, and there at the end, when the TARDIS, or well, Idris, her soul is brought back into the TARDIS, and just like, you can hear House in pain, and just, you can tell, I mean, the Doctor isn't relishing in it, but you can just see that rage that he has. It's like, you deserve this. You deserve what's happening to you. And I just, that gave me chills. I absolutely love that. But moving on, my fourth favorite part of this episode was when House plays with Amy and Rory. That was a combination of the Twilight Zone and a horror movie, like just compressed into these little scenes, and it was so well done. So well done. I admit I felt like it was a little bit strange when Amy like turned one of the corners and all of a sudden you see in blood and what I assume is black marker, like Amy's name and die or kill, whatever the words were. I found like the black marker part to be a little bit off-putting. It's like, where did he find a black marker? But I mean, that aside, just it was some very good psychological horror, some very good psychological horror, just really well done. And that whole segment, like the back and forth with Amy and Rory as they try to figure out what's going on and her reactions to him. I wish we had gotten to see more of his side of the whole situation, but just like, seeing her side was just amazing as it was. So yeah, that was just really, really good stuff. Now, my fifth and final favorite part of this episode was the pretty one. When the Doctor tells Idris to contact Amy, and she says, "Which one is Amy?" "The pretty one." And like in my mind, I was just thinking, I wonder if she's gonna contact Rory. She contacted Rory. That moment right there, I was sort of like jumping up and down on the couch because I was just so giddy when that moment occurred. I just absolutely loved it. I was just like, I knew it. I knew she was gonna contact Rory, and it was just so perfect. I love the way that they played that off. And it is kind of funny that, obviously the Doctor finds Amy pretty in a way, and Idris finds Rory pretty in a way. So yeah, I really did love that. And there's a lot to really enjoy, in my opinion, about this episode. That's just the five in particular that stood out the most to me. Now, moving on to my annoyances, and there are a few. How severe or inconsequential they may be, I'll leave that up to you all. But let's get right into it. My first annoyance with this episode was that Uncle and Auntie were basically just completely pointless characters. They served a point as far as showing that House can take parts from Time Lords, or basically other living entities, and put it on to other people, like patchwork people, I guess you would say. But other than that, they were really unnecessary in the end, because Nephew, the Ood, really did everything that required there to be something done. Like, he's the one that removed Idris's mind and soul, I guess it was. But he's the one that removed that. And in my opinion, Nephew was the only one that was really necessary, other than Idris, obviously, because she, that's where the TARDIS's soul went into. But yeah, both of the characters just kind of seem like they were there and then they're dead, and there's no consequence one way or the other. Like I said, there's just no point for them to be there, other than just like the most minute of details that could have easily just been Nephew doing everything, or talking to them with the communication orb, whatever. Anyway, yeah, that was my first annoyance. My second annoyance is when the Doctor and Idris are in that like makeshift TARDIS core or TARDIS control panel, and they have nothing outside controlling them. Like, I guess there's like some sort of little force field that's generated by the core, or maybe done by Idris herself. But it just seems like, I don't know, as much damage as the TARDIS can take, traveling through space and through time as they were, you know, or rather as the TARDIS usually does, it seems like there should have been, I don't know, like maybe clothes fraying, or, you know, it looked like they're getting a little bit damaged, because, I mean, there's nothing protecting them other than what I assume was a kind of force field. But there was wind of sorts hitting them. It's like, you know, there was definitely air rushing, so, like, why... I don't know, it may be a budgetary thing, it may be something that most people wouldn't even, you know, consider or even care about. But for me, it's just like, why was there not even, like, the slightest sign of damage, or even maybe a little bit of pain? Like, you know, traveling through all that might have hurt the Doctor a little bit, or might have hurt both of them a little bit. I don't know. I don't know. But, again, those are my two annoyances with this episode. And I guess in the end you could call them pretty minor annoyances, but again, it's just like they stuck out to me. If there's any others that you all, or well, any more positives or annoyances that, you know, might have bothered you all, slash you liked about this episode, please do let me know, because I like to hear what you all think about the episodes, as always. Moving on, as far as my song of the episode, now there were 4 listed on the soundtrack specifically for this episode, and it was really, really hard for me to get it down to 1. So I'm not even doing a honorable mention this time. It's basically 2 songs of the episode, because these 2 songs were just, in my opinion, awesome in their own way. The first is Locked On, which was just such a good song. And the second is My TARDIS. Again, both for different reasons. They're both very overall different songs, but each one just excellent in their own way. And if you haven't heard them before for some reason, or if you're not sure which songs I'm talking about, I'll, you know, of course, link to them down here. You can go check out the videos. Let me know what you think. But I love those 2 songs. They were so, so good. Now, moving on to my quote of the episode. It's an entire dialogue between Idris, aka the TARDIS, and the Doctor. And I'm not even gonna bother quoting it, because I feel like I do this scene an injustice by trying to read the dialogue because of the emotions that are put forth throughout that scene. So it's basically the dialogue that begins with Idris as the TARDIS appearing and saying, "Doctor, are you there? It's so very dark in here." And the Doctor says, "I'm here." Like I said, I'm not even going to try and read that. It's just like, if you know the scene, you know what I'm talking about. If you haven't seen that scene yet, why haven't you watched the episode? Go watch it right now and come back. But yeah, it's just such great dialogue, and one of the, like, easily one of the most emotional scenes from a character that just came out of nowhere. A character that, I mean, well, obviously the TARDIS has been with us the whole time, but you know, just this character who is the TARDIS embodied, that hasn't even been there for, you know, an entire hour. She's been there for 40-ish minutes throughout the episode. But just that dialogue was so, so good. Absolutely love it. If you have another bit of dialogue from this episode you prefer, please do let me know. But yeah, that's the one that really gets me. Now, as for my overall thoughts on this episode, that should be obvious at this point. I loved it. I really enjoyed this episode. Yeah, I just don't know how else to put it. It was really, really good. And it's definitely one of those that has me ready to get into the next 2-parter. Or, well, yeah, the next 2-parter, which is coming up. And, again, I apologize I wasn't able to get my reactions for this one, because I definitely had some reactions for this episode. It's just, you know, corrupted video and all that junk. But, yeah, whatever. But anyway, before we wrap things up, my question of the episode is, will the TARDIS ever get a voice again? I don't know, like, she probably won't get another human body, because it's been established both with Rose and Idris that the human body can't contain the TARDIS's soul and or the time vortex, I think it is, you know, for a very long period of time, because it actually starts to kill the person. But will again, will the TARDIS ever have a voice again? Now, obviously, she can, in a form, communicate with the Doctor by making levers pull or making sure he goes where he needs to go, not necessarily where he wants to go. Another really good quote. But yeah, I just think it would be really cool if every now and then the TARDIS could actually communicate, even if not directly with the Doctor, like some of the companions in a time of need. Something like that. I just think that would be really cool. And if it actually has happened between now and the episodes that have shown so far, please do let me know. It's like, you know, obviously don't spoil it for me, or rather, don't spoil the event for me. Just let me know, yes or no, whether or not the TARDIS does speak again, because I would really like to know. Everyone, thank you very much for joining me for the 61st episode of Discovering Doctor Who. Coming up next, we have the two-parter, The Rebel Flesh and The Almost People, which is... they're interesting titles. They're definitely very different. So I kind of like that they're... at least for me, it seems like they're changing it up a little bit with these titles. But at the same time, the titles are just kind of... interesting, I guess you could say. But anyway... everyone, thank you very much. Oh, and one more time before we wrap up, if you are interested at all in checking out my weight loss journey, go check out this video right here. I posted my first update on Monday, or my first weight loss update, shall we say. It's the second video of the series. And if you're interested at all in some of my upcoming video game related videos, go check out the Cult of Awesome channel up there. And if you'd like to check out my latest snackin', which is taking more of a health food oriented direction most recently, go check it out right here. Provide a link to the playlist. Let me know what you all think. But anyway, everyone, I hope you have a great day. I hope you have a great rest of the week. I just soniced myself again. But anyway, as always, I'll see you next time. And until then, Auntie!